All right. So let's get started. So, guys, in case you haven't seen me before, I'm Jennifer Harrington. I'm a naturopath with over 21 years of clinical experience. I'm an author, a podcaster, and a practitioner. Plus, I'm clinical director of Menopause Natural Solutions, which is a naturopathic menopause clinic that in September celebrates its 10th birthday. So, we are pretty excited about that. So today's event is thanks to ATMS, it's Natural Medicine Week, and this is my first of 3 events. Today we're going to be discussing functional foods for menopause. So having a look at this, we are going to be touching on dietary basics, but focusing on phytoestrogens. So flaxseed, pomegranate, and soy are the most researched foods. So we're going to start with these. And just to give you an idea on research, PubMed, which is one of my favorite sites to find studies, has over 14,000 entries for phytoestrogens. So no, I haven't read them all, but I've read quite a few, and I'm going to break it down for you today. But I also wanted to let you know today's content was taken from my menopause makeover program. So if you enjoy this little taster and would like to know more about using food for medicine, then you might like to join my June group, but I'll tell you about that at the end. So we need to start with dietary basics, as food as medicine only works when you consider the entire diet. You can't live off processed foods. Add in some flax seeds and expect results. I often use a house as an analogy for health. So superfoods are an extension, but they are not the foundation. You need to build a solid, strong foundation before you start adding in some of the extensions. So I'm going to skim over some of these nutritional basics, but it's all covered in my book if you've got it, from page 25. So started here with water. It's an extremely important health promoting building block. And I meet so many women every day that aren't drinking enough. And it's one of the simplest, easiest ways to avoid premature aging. So please make sure you're drinking adequate water. You might be wondering why there's a picture of a clock on the slide. It's because we also need to consider the timing of our meals. Maybe you've heard of time-restricted feeding or intermittent fasting. And I recommend all women start with a 12-hour feeding window with a minimum of 3-hour break before dinner. If you go to bed at 10, aim to have dinner at 7. Don't have breakfast before 7, and you have easily completed your 12-hour fast. It's too easy. So food contains 3 macronutrients: our carbohydrates, our proteins, and our fats. And these are your foundational building blocks for health. So carbohydrates are any foods that can be converted into sugars. Think grains, legumes, fruits, vegetables. But these foods are converted to different amounts of sugars. So compare a grain to a vegetable. Grains convert to be roughly 70% sugar. The rest is mostly fiber, where vegetables convert to roughly 8% sugar. And that leaves a lot of room for the good stuff, the vitamins, the minerals, the phytonutrients, the water, and the fiber. So when it comes to carbohydrates, your diet should focus on vegetable salads and fruit. And ideally, this should make up 2/3 of your plate. The next macronutrient is protein. Protein actually is your structure. Protein breaks down into amino acids, and you need amino acids for every single cell in your body. Think muscles, bones, hair, skin, blood cells, enzymes, antibodies, hormones, etc. And I really see a lot of protein deficiency in the clinic, and it's a catch-22 at this stage of life. Because as we age, our digestive fire reduces, meaning we are more likely to struggle with protein digestion at a time where we actually need more protein. So if this is you, you need to work on building your digestive capacity so that you can tolerate and add in more protein. So the final macronutrients is fats. So hopefully by now you know that fats are essential for your health and that low-fat diets are dangerous. But there seems to be a little bit of confusion on good fats and bad fats. So I've added in this slide that I've taken from drcate.com. Dr. Cate is the author of Deep Nutrition, and she's considered to be the leader in the field of fats. So a lot of us know that healthy fats are nature-made fats versus human fats. So when we look at some of the bad don't eat fats, they're all fake, like fake cream and fake butter and margarines and things like this, where the natural, so your olive oil and your avocado and your butter and your lard and your tallow, these are all your better sources of fats. It might be worth taking a screenshot of this or even heading to drcate.com if this is new information for you. Actually, before I got to phytoestrogens, as I said, it's really important that we organize the foundations first. So it was a very brief skim over all of that. But before we move on, I just wanted to check if there are any questions, if all of that made sense. No questions. Let's move on to phytoestrogens. Alrighty. Phytoestrogens. Alrighty. Phytoestrogens are compounds found in plants. So it's plant estrogens. And they have an estrogen-like effect in the body. They have a similar shape to estradiol and have the ability to bind to and activate estrogen receptors. But rather than being estrogen enhancers, they are estrogen regulators. And their action varies really depending on where you are in the transition. So let's break this down a little bit. So in perimenopause, when we have estrogen binding to receptors, it dilutes the amount of available receptors for estradiol and therefore may reduce signs of estrogen dominance. In postmenopause, where we have lower amounts of estrogen floating around, when the phytoestrogen binds to the receptors, it enhances the overall estrogenic effect. So in various stages of the transition, so when we're looking at perimenopause, a lot of women have elevated or estrogen dominant like symptoms. So this can be things like heavy bleeds. Heavy bleeds is actually a really big one, but a lot of the signs and symptoms of perimenopause are because your estrogen levels rise before they drop. So phytoestrogens are really good for the whole transition, no matter what part you're in, because they're regulating the availability of estrogen to the body. So we need to have a quick chat about receptors, because remember I said the phytoestrogens can bind to the estrogen receptors and have the ability to activate them. But for healthy receptors to work, they really need the necessary cofactors to allow for this to happen. And there are many vitamins and minerals that act as cofactors, various B vitamins, zinc, magnesium, vitamin A, iodine, it's just a few of them. But we also don't want things that are blocking the receptors. So unhealthy receptors are blocked by environmental pollutants. So think about things like pollution and perfumes and mold, toxic metals, pesticides, those kind of things. So when we're looking at this, we really want to make sure that we're eating the best diet possible with plenty of nutrients that act as cofactors for the phytoestrogens to be having the best effect that they can do, while at the same time minimizing our exposure to some of these environmental blockers. Something that you might not have considered before is the role of your digestive microbiome. And this is your collection of living components such as bacteria and viruses and protozoa that are located within your digestive system. So as the quote says, the effectiveness of dietary phytoestrogens is largely determined by the individual intestinal microbial composition. So just a spoiler alert, one of the very final slides is actually looking at the future of research and looking at how we've actually identified which microbes are responsible for the conversion of some of these end-stage phytonutrients. So I really feel that's where personalized medicine will come into play, where we can see what you have the ability to actually convert. But yeah, for now, all you need to know is that the health of your digestive system impacts on your ability to utilize phytoestrogens. So what are phytoestrogens? So phytoestrogens can be found in nuts, they can be found in seeds, in legumes, in fruits, in vegetables, in garlic, in coffee, and certain herbs. So today we're going to be looking at three. We're going to be looking at flaxseed, pomegranate, and soy. So let's start with flax seeds. So flax seeds contain the highest amount of phytoestrogens in the form of lignans. They actually contain 800 times more lignans than any other plant food. As we touched on before, the biological activity of lignans depends on the health of your digestive microbiome. So a healthy microbiome will metabolize lignans into the methyl estradiol, the enterolactones, and the enterodol. The use of antibiotics, cigarette smoke will reduce that, where things like fiber can actually enhance it. So some of these components are protective against hormone-sensitive cancers. Some of them are very good blood sugar regulators and may play a really good role in improving insulin sensitivity and reducing type 2 diabetes. Flaxseed is also the richest plant source of alpha-linolenic acid. Think of that as a vegetarian precursor to omega-3s such as EPA and DHA. Some of the other active ingredients include fiber, both soluble and insoluble forms, protein, but it's not a complete protein as it's missing lysine, vitamins such as A, B, C, and E, minerals such as calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, iron, copper, manganese, zinc, and also your antioxidants. So you can see it's a very nutritious food source. So over to the chat, guys. How much do you think you need to consume in order to get a therapeutic dose? Anybody have any ideas? No one? All right. Oh, we've got one. Let's have a look. 1 tablespoon. Not quite. 2 tablespoons. So we can see here that the recommended dose of flax seeds is 2 tablespoons daily. So it's recommended that you buy the whole seeds and that you freshly grind them as you go. And if you grind more than what you need, the extra needs to be stored in a dark, airtight container, put in the fridge, and used within the next few days. But flax seeds are really, really versatile. You can sprinkle them over your salads, you can add them to your smoothies, you can make a breakfast cereal out of them, you can make flaxseed crackers, seeds. I actually had some for breakfast. My daughter made a whole lot of protein balls and we had some flax seeds in there. So that, yeah, very easy way. And really, when you consider it, flax seeds are cheap. So really to add 2 tablespoons of flax seeds, it's a very little cost for a lot of benefit. But I feel I should talk to you about cautions. There's really not very many cautions, but flaxseed being a fiber source, you might find that extra fiber produces extra bowel movements. If you experience any digestive upsets, I recommend stopping flaxseed for 3 days and then consider retrying at half a dose. If you experience any allergy type symptoms, stop. Anyone can be allergic to anything, but as a general rule, flax seeds are really low allergy food.
Hi, sorry. Do you mind putting me through to the pro shop, please?
Sorry, somebody's got their mic on. We can hear you talking on the phone.
go. They're free now.
Okay, right, thanks.
Let me see if I can mute.
Joshua Jackson speaking.
Oh, Josh, hi. It's Sally Ryan. How you going?
Sally,
Yeah,
can
good.
you
I
hear
wanted to
me?
play on Thursday, but again, just just put me in the C grade or whatever you can do.
Sorry, guys, I can't figure out how to mute her. Anyway, we will move on. So pomegranate. Pomegranate, in the Middle Age, herbalists used to believe that plants look like the body parts that they treated. And this is called the law of signatures. So pomegranate, what do you think? What body part do you think pomegranates were thought to help?
I can play on my own. I don't mind playing on my own. Okay, 924.
Any ideas, guys?
Great. All right, fantastic. Thanks.
Let's have a quick
Okay, bye.
look at the chat. Anyone know what pomegranates can help? All right, guys, let's have a look. Someone's got an idea? So pomegranates, if you're looking at them, contain lots of seeds inside it, and it's thought to resemble ovaries because ovaries have lots of eggs within them. So as the law of signatures, they thought that pomegranate was going to be a really good ovarian tonic. And what we found through research is that pomegranate is actually a phytoestrogen. So it can be beneficial for ovarian function, and it can be particularly beneficial during the menopausal transition. So look at this. There are just so many benefits that I found of pomegranate when going through the research. So we'll touch on a couple of them. So regular consumption of pomegranates may reduce hot flushes and night sweats, may slow down vaginal wall thinning and dryness, may slow down or prevent bone loss, may assist with memory. So pomegranates contain neuroprotective agents that also increase synaptic plasticity, meaning healthier brains and better cognition. May improve cardiovascular health by lowering cholesterol, triglycerides, thinning the blood, reducing blood clots, and so much more. Actually, a point that I should point out is the world's highest source of omega-5. Now, many of you have heard of omega-3, omega-6, maybe omega-9. There's also omega-5 and omega-7. Has anyone heard of omega-5? So omega-5 has two main actions. The first one is it is an insulin receptor signaler. So it's very good for, sorry, I just saw that. I'm going to come back to how you take it in a minute. That was one of the questions. So very good for balancing blood sugar levels. But it's also a selective estrogen receptor modulator. And there's promising research because of this action, looking at pomegranate as a cancer preventative agent. So that's pretty exciting. It also plays, let's look at some of these other ones. It may help with weight reduction. So that's the potential breast cancer prevention is because of the selective estrogen receptor modulator. Can help with digestive health, can help with skin health. So mitophagia and autophagia may be new words for you. So autophagia is just the recycling of damaged organelles, and mitophagia is the recycling of your mitochondria. So when we recycle old and worn out organs, they get replaced by new energetic organs, fresh and ready to go. So when we're looking at recycling our mitochondria, we can really find that there's a big boost in energy production, which I know many women will be excited about because fatigue is the #1 symptom of the menopausal transition. So keep pomegranates in mind for that one. So it can also help with mood stabilizing. And it is the most powerful antioxidant fruit, which is very exciting indeed. So I was asked already, how do we take it? So let's move straight on into that. Right, what have I done? Here we go. So 1/4 cup of arils, which is the fruit part with the seed, or you can have half a pomegranate. scooping everything out inside. So I find it easier to buy frozen areolas, and then I just put a quarter of a scoop, quarter of a cup of that into smoothies, or into some yogurt, or however I'm going to consume it. But if you've bought the fresh, it's half a fresh pomegranate. So to get the benefits of the oils, the omega-5 that I mentioned, you need to chew the seeds, because it's the seeds that contain the beneficial oils. I really think pomegranates look great and taste great. Like, you can sprinkle them over your vegetables. I recently had them at a cafe over my poached eggs. I thought that looked really beautiful and it tastes really nice. I really feel you're just limited by your imagination. Add them to anything and everything. And just keep in mind too that you can buy them. They're sold in the frozen section alongside your blueberries and your raspberries and the rest of the frozen fruit. Who here already eats pomegranates? Anyone lucky enough to have a tree in the backyard? Yes. Ah, fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, so let's move on to soy, which is the most controversial of all the phytoestrogens. So, the decision to eat soy is really down to personal choice. So, with the pros, yes, it is a phytoestrogen source. It is the highest source of your isoflavones. It contains the main isoflavones, dazodine and genistein. 50 to 60% of Asian women eating a traditional diet can convert diazodine into equol, and that is your main source active metabolite. So if you're not producing the active metabolite, you're not getting the benefit from it. At the very end, when I said I'm going to give you the spoiler alert for the actual microbes that help to do this, we can't actually test for them at the moment. It's really, really relatively new research. There's no testing for it. But we do know, when we look at cultural studies, that up to 60% of Asian women can get the benefit of eating soy. And it could also be the fact that they're generally eating it in traditional fermented style. But only 20 to 30% of other races can do it. The rest can't. So possibly up to 70% of us aren't getting the phytoestrogenic benefit of having it. And there are actually some cons with eating soy. So let's also look at that. So it is the most genetically engineered crop on the planet, with about 94% of it being genetically modified. And genetically modified foods are heavily sprayed with pesticides and herbicides. And do you remember at the beginning when I was talking about receptor blockers? These pesticides and herbicides are environmental receptor blockers. So we don't want that. Soy is a goitrogen. So women transitioning into menopause are greater risk of thyroid dysfunction. And if you're not aware, goitrogens impact your thyroid's ability to uptake iodine. So it's really putting us at greater risk at this stage of life. So especially if yourself or a close family member has had thyroid issues, might not be the best food to be consuming. Soy also contains phytates. Phytates are also called anti-nutrients, as they bind to minerals and make them unabsorbable. We don't want that either. Soy also contains an enzyme inhibitor. It's actually a trypsin inhibitor. And this impacts on your ability to digest protein and carbohydrates and can cause symptoms such as bloating and flatulence. Soy is also one of the top common allergens. It is one of the big top 4 that causes allergies or intolerances. But I'm big on the middle ground. So we looked at this side and we looked at that side. Let's look at the middle. So the middle is looking at, can we find an organic version? Like, there are some. Can we actually locate an organic form? Can we look at how it was traditionally eaten in Japan? So the Japanese mostly eat smaller portion sizes of regular So regular daily small portions of fermented soy, such as natto, miso, and tempeh. And fermenting the soy actually reduces goitrogens, reduces phytates, and reduces the enzyme inhibitors. So that knocks out a lot of the cons. And when we're looking at the highly processed soy alternatives that we find in Western supermarkets, things like soy protein isolates, your fake meat products, your hydrolyzed vegetable protein, and your textured vegetable proteins, these contain the nasties without the desired phytoestrogens as they were removed in the processing. So I'm open to soy consumption as long as it's eaten in the traditional fermented way. If you're Asian, fantastic. It's part of your culture to eat it. If you're a Western woman eating the highly processed soy, you're not going to get the health benefits of consuming that. I've just seen, I've got some questions. Are labels trustworthy when they say certified organic? I would have a look for the registration. If they just say organic and there's no registration or no body monitoring them, I wouldn't believe it. But if there was a registrar, actual body that's monitoring them, then yes, I do think so. Edamame, yeah, I'm okay. It's different. It's not the highly processed isolated soy. Okay, it's not fermented, but I'm actually okay with edamame. And what do I think of tofu? I prefer tempeh because tempeh is fermented. So go that way. And do I recommend soy milk? No, I don't. It really depends how much you're consuming. So if it's something that you're drinking a little bit, say if you're just putting a little bit in a coffee that you drink out once a month with friends, don't worry about it. But if it's something that you're putting in your cereal and you're drinking a whole lot every day, then no, I wouldn't. I would look at other alternatives. Okay. So what I wanted to do was to bring it all together for you. So looking at the menopause diet checklist, we want to have a 12-hour feeding window, which leaves us with a 12-hour fasting window. We want to stop grazing. We want to focus on meals and reducing snacks. We want to consume adequate fluids. We want to add in menopause-specific teas, and sage is a fantastic one here. Sage, green tea, plus any of your favorites, chamomile, peppermint, ginger. Oh my goodness, ginger. Ginger is a fantastic tea for the menopausal transition. We want to make sure we're having fruit daily. We want to make sure there's a protein source in each meal. You want to be consuming an abundance of salads and vegetables with the inclusion of these good beneficial fats that we discussed at the beginning, and a daily serving of phytoestrogenic food, and soul food twice a week. So I'm really big on enjoying life. So this is not something that I'm not very, very strict with diets all the time. I feel there's a time and a place, and if it's your wedding anniversary or your 50th birthday or something special like this, I say go celebrate it. But as a general rule, I think it's soul food twice a week. Now let's go back to some of the phytoestrogenic foods to make sure you know what foods you should be including into your diet. So with the nuts, we're looking at foods like almonds, cashews, pistachio, walnuts. And my recommendation here is to cycle them. So if you find that you're eating almonds and it's almonds, 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 swap it. Maybe next time you go to the shop, buy cashews, and the next time you go to the shops, get walnuts or pistachios, to rotate through your nuts rather than having the same one all the time. When it comes to seeds, flax seeds, remember I said it has 800 times more lignans than any other food source. But there is still benefit in your other seeds. So sesame seeds, sunflowers, chia seeds, you can rotate those through as well, but I would primarily be having the flax seed. When we look at legumes, so we discussed soy, but it could be chickpeas, black beans, mung beans, lentils, red kidney beans, split beans. Again, rotate them because they will have slightly different nutritional profiles, and you want to make sure that you're getting all of them. With fruits, pomegranates, what we discussed, but things like apples, grapes, berries, these all contain phytoestrogens. So hopefully you're having one serving of fruit every day that you're swapping out depending on what you have access to. Vegetables. Now, broccoli is my all-time favorite vegetable. When I do the full version of this discussion, it's normally over an hour, and we do touch on, well, we actually spend a fair bit of time on broccoli, but I want to let you know that broccoli is a phenomenal phytoestrogen, but it's also, it does over 400 things in the body. So it helps with estrogen regulation and detoxification. It is an antioxidant. It helps with the NRF2 pathways. It helps with glutathione production. It is my favorite food. But other vegetables too. So any of the cruciferous vegetables, what we haven't written down here is the allium family would also fall into that. I've written down garlic, other vegetables, sweet potato, carrots, celery. I've seen alfalfa. So anything that's in a sprout form has got concentrated active constituents. So broccoli sprouts is going to have more bang for its buck than broccoli. So think about how you can add some sprouted vegetables into what you're doing so that you're getting more bang for your buck. And some of the beautiful herbs. So I mentioned with teas, I love sage. Sage tea is really good for excessive perspiration and excessive heat. It's also good for memory and cognition. So two very good reasons to drink it at this stage of life. But other herbs, turmeric, lady's mantle, black cohosh, red clover, licorice, peonia, wild yam. So I can see you've got a couple of questions. So I'm going to go up here and have a look. Can the fasting period be longer? All right, so with the basics, I spoke about having a minimum 12-hour period. So 12-hour feed, 12-hour fast. It can be long, can be longer than that. But I wouldn't recommend longer than that unless you're in consultation or somebody's monitoring or supporting you. Like there is some beautiful research. I think it was Jason Fung, might have been someone else. So he was. They were looking at a 13-hour fast, so 11-hour feeding window and a 13-hour fast being protective against breast cancer. I thought that was really cool. There's different reasons to do different fasting windows, but in a general forum like this, I think it's safer to stick with 12 unless you're actually working with someone. So the recordings are going to be on my YouTube channel. So jump on YouTube and subscribe, then you'll get a notification as soon as the recordings are available. So grinding flax seeds, how's best to do it? So I actually use a coffee grinder. I've got a coffee grinder that doesn't have coffee. It's just for my nuts and my seeds or anything like that that I want to grind. And I would just try and do like a daily serving or even 3 days, grind up 3 days. As I mentioned before, putting it in an airtight container, hopefully a dark container, maybe like a blue or a brown colored glass with an airtight lid. Stick it in the fridge, get it out, use it over the next few days, and then start again. I'm not a big fan on pre-ground flax seeds just because we're not sure how long ago they were ground and if they were sitting on the shelf for months. Is there any nutrition left in it? Because once you've ground it, it's starting to air, like it's oxygenated. So are we losing nutritional content? So it's just the freshest is the best. And nothing's fresher than you self-grinding. Look, use what you've got at home. If you've got a spice grinder, if you've got a NutriBullet, use what you've got at home. Never tried it in any of those. You can let me know if it turns to mush or if it doesn't grind. It should work. Yes, so the reason we need to grind the flaxseed is because of the hard outer shell. Quite often when you eat them whole, if you were then later to look at your bowel movements, you would see the whole flaxseed in the stool, that our body wasn't able to break down that outer coating. You weren't able to get in to the nutrition. Test it for yourself. Take a couple of spoonfuls, check your stool the next day. I'm thinking you'll probably find a whole lot of whole flax seeds that haven't changed at all, but by grinding them, you actually start that breaking down. So digestion starts with mechanical digestion. So whether you're chewing or whether you've ground before you start chewing, then the acids and enzymes come in. But it needs to be a food that you actually can. Your acids and enzymes can penetrate. So maybe you don't need to grind it. Maybe you just chew and chew and chew and chew. I would prefer to grind personally. You can see what works for you. Okay, so soy protein isolate powders. I'm not a big fan of them. It's processed, but it all depends what you're trying to do. So if you're just trying to increase your protein source because you're vegan or you're vegetarian and you're not open to other sources, then that is fine. I certainly wouldn't be using it as a phytoestrogenic source. Yeah. All right. So let's keep moving. So also in the summary, bringing it all together, so considerations for effective phytoestrogen therapy, we need to make sure we've got a good balanced diet to start with the regular consumption of phytoestrogens. The one and done is not going to work. You can't have flax seeds today and expect a result tomorrow. It needs to be a regular daily occurrence. We need good digestive functions with adequate acids and enzymes and healthy microbiome. Now, let me just quickly go down here. This is the research that I was chatting about before. So looking at the Corobacteriaceae family, that is what is needed to convert soy into its active constituent. The Lactobacillus plantarum is needed for flax seeds to metabolize into lignans. And the Gordonobacter has been identified to help with pomegranates, turning pomegranates into urolithins. So really see this as the beginning of personalized medicine. So we currently can't test for these particular species. They can in the research, but they can't out there in the real world. So maybe one day we can. And then I'll know, right, you have these species, therefore you can metabolize these foods. These are going to be better sources for you. Or it can be you don't have these, you want to use those foods. This is the probiotic I'm going to give you so that you get more bang for your buck when it comes to the end stage metabolites. And something I didn't mention, so we spoke about soy and how roughly 60% of Asian women can turn soy into equal producers, so they have some benefits. With flaxseed and pomegranate, I looked at this research years ago now. I have a feeling it was like 70-80% of women can do that conversion. So, sorry, with flaxseed, it was 70-80% conversion. With pomegranate, it was a lower amount again. But you can also buy supplements with all of these end stage products. So if on your shelf you have pomegranate, if it's just pomegranate or ellagic acid, I don't think you're getting the most bang for your buck. Where if you're supplementing with urolithin, you're going to get more bang for your buck because it's already converted. Your body doesn't need to do it. I can see we have another question. How quickly would you notice symptom relief? Yeah, definitely it will be person to person. I would expect to see some sort of change within the month. And if it's not working, going back to this particular, gone the wrong way, this particular slide to go, well, maybe there's nutritional cofactors missing from my diet, so it can't bind to the receptor. or maybe there's an environmental pollution issue. But as a general rule, I think 4 weeks is a really good time frame to see how you're feeling. So I have a menopause symptom tracker on my website. You're more than welcome to go to that and track in all your symptoms now. Start your dietary change. Might be, okay, I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of flax seeds most days, and then redo the symptom tracker quiz in 4 weeks' time and just see, have I made any changes? What feels different? And knowing that flaxseed has more benefits than just being a phytoestrogen, like it also may help with your digestive system, with blood sugar regulation. So you may find that there's other benefits you're not aware of. I would make sure though that you've thought about if any symptoms come up that are allergy type related, to stop the new food that you've included and just see if after a couple of days break, do I feel any better? Because although pomegranate and flaxseed are very low allergy food, anything is possible. Okay. So with Natural Medicine Week, today's event was about food. Tomorrow's event I'm running on is understanding menopause. So just getting a better idea of what this transition is, what are some of the common symptoms, what are some of the concerns that I see, or more of the common factors that I see with women that are struggling. So things that can be changed to help have an easier transition. And then on Thursdays, it's minerals for menopause. Just looking at fatigue being the #1 symptom of the transition and how tired and depleted we're all feeling and how certain minerals can play a role with this. I've also got 2 specials. So the first one is if you like a copy of my book. For this week only, I'm doing $20, including postage and handling, but that's for Australian addresses only. And the second one is I've decided to run another menopause makeover group. So that's for the entire month of June. Today was a little taster of the information, but the groups are set up differently. So you've got all the information in the online portal. The community sessions we have are more of a discussion. So your mics will be on, your cameras will be on. We'll be having a discussion about different things. So because of that, it's only limited to 12 women, because I want you all to have some individual time so that you can talk about how you're feeling and what you've tried and what's worked and what's not worked, so we can all share and learn together. So that is that. And I wanted to say a big thank you and to go back up here to the chat and see whether there were any final questions. You want the good fat slide again? Yes, 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 we can do that. There we go. Yeah, so if you're not aware of the vegetable oils, so the big dangerous ones that we seem to consume too much of without being aware of are the sunflower, soy, safflower, canola, corn, cottonseed. And these unfortunately are in most of our restaurants when we eat out. Or at least if we can control what oils we're using at home and in the house, then hopefully it's just the occasional, like I said, that 20% of soul food that you are eating out and exposed to some of these detrimental fats. And again, it also depends on what you're choosing. Like if you're having chicken and salad, you might not get any of them. Well, guys, thank you so much for your company today. Hopefully I see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is an evening session. I think it's a 6:30 start. So I hope to see you there. Bye. Oh, sorry, I got another chat. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome.